all to no avail. Ralph Valentine, the director of the Footlights Theatre in Finton Fold, died on his way to the hospital. But who were the killers, the two characters who made an attempt on his life?
Someone's got to keep what's coming to them.
For those of you who are unaware who we are, I'm Detective Inspector Angard and this is Sergeant Norbeck. Myself and the Sergeant have a long history of successfully solving crime in the Finkerton Fold area. We've been called here at short notice tonight to sort out a particularly violent crime which occurred earlier this evening.
Particularly gruesome it was too. Claire made my toes curl.
Well, quite, as I was saying. It was particularly violent.
No disrespect, sir, but wouldn't you get to wait until tomorrow? I'm sure you can see we're all a little bit upset.
I know it's late, Miss Gibbs, but in my experience, the sooner we make a start, the sooner we can bring the guilty party to justice.
Yes, indeed. In our experience, the killers are much more likely to incriminate themselves if they don't have time to conduct alibis. We're very good at our job, you know.
Yes, quite.
Why do you say themselves and killers plural?
Well, for one very simple reason. Looking at the evidence, it appears to me that there were two people who tried to kill Mr. Valentine here tonight.
Oh, yes. It appears that way to me too.
As I was saying, there were two people who tried to kill him. And it was the second person who succeeded. I'll explain more in due course. The ambulance crew confirmed that the stab wound delivered to Mr. Valentine by Russell Lamourier as part of the play, although serious, was not enough to kill him outright. Someone else interfered with Mr. Valentine between his accident here at the theatre and his arrival in hospital deceased.
Somebody definitely interfered with him. Yes, indeed.
I think I'll make that clear, Norbeck. Thank you. As I was saying, the problem is the cause of death at this moment is unknown. There are no discernible marks on Mr. Valentine's body, no trace of foul play. Thus we have quite a bit of investigating to do, not to mention some strategic questioning. Death was abrupt and tortuous, but apparently without cause. Valentine's body will be scrutinised in minute detail back at the lab.
Oh, yes. Thoroughly scrutinised. With a fine tooth comb.
But all of this is unbelievable.
Unbelievable, yet true.
Very, very true.
Now, according to witnesses, it seems like you five people are the only ones who have entered the Footlights Theatre tonight, which is why your presence has been requested in front of us now. It's also why we have deduced that both would-be killers are in this room now. So if you'd be so kind as to wait outside the cloakroom, we can conduct our investigation privately in here. Mr. Lamourier, I think that, seeing as you actually stabbed Mr. Valentine, it is logical to start with you. Mr. Lamourier, Russell?
What? Yes, sorry, Inspector. It's just been a heck of a day. And to think I could have been playing footy with the lads down at the I had a bit to drink earlier as well. So sorry, I don't feel too well.
Oh, I love football, I do. Always up for a good kick about.
Yes. Well, let's get back on track. I'll try and make this as painless as possible. Now, the knife you held on the second run-through tonight at the scene was clearly not a full theatrical one. It was a kitchen knife. Am I assuming that you didn't realise this at the time?
Well, of course I didn't realise. Do you think I'll stab him on purpose? Do you think I'll stab my own...
Forgive me, Mr. Lamourier, it's just that the two knives look nothing alike. How on earth did you not notice the difference? It was in your hand. That is, unless you intended to kill Mr. Valentine.
Did you intend to kill him? Do you want to confess?
Of course I didn't want to kill him. I just overheard a rather unsettling piece of news. I eavesdropped on my mother and Ralph talking, and if what they said is correct, then Ralph Valentine is my father. I wanted to get to know him further. I'm hardly likely to kill my own father, am I?
Stranger things have been known to happen, Mr. Moyer. And was this all you heard? For example, did you hear him say anything about another member of the society, perhaps?
Isn't this enough for one evening, Inspector?
I suppose so. So you didn't discuss your findings with anyone else?
No. I mean, who would I talk to?
You tell us, Mr. de Maurier.
No friend, no girlfriend?
No.
And didn't you say anything to your mother?
No, I was in shock.
And you say you found out this information this evening?
Think well before you answer that, Mr. de Maurier.
I wasn't thinking straight. So I went over to the spinners and I drank whiskey very quickly. It was the only way I could cope. Oh, and I still can't quite piece together everything of the evening. It's a bit of a blur. Oh, I just heard this unsettling piece of news and I just stormed off. And when I came back, before I knew it, Ralph was doubled over in front of me and I was holding the knife. I tried to carry him out, but he was so heavy. And there was an argument. Forgive me, but I don't think I can cope.
Right, I've had just about enough of this, Inspector. You've been alone with my son for quite long enough now. Can't you see he's obviously distressed? He needs rest, not interrogation. From you two. How's your blood sugar, honey? Do you need to borrow one of my needles?
Leave me alone. I have my own.
Needles, Mr. Moyer.
Diabetes, Mr. Angwood. Unfortunately, it can be passed down genetically. Both of us suffer from the condition.
Mother, look, I can take care of myself. I have my own needles. I don't need any help from you. Not now, not ever. Do you hear me?
That's no way to speak to your mother, Mr. de Maurier.
Is that quite enough, Inspector? Any good?
I suppose so.
Well, let me know if you need me again.
Actually, there is one more thing, Mr. de Maurier. You went across to the spinners this evening, you say?
What of it?
Then how come no one actually saw you leaving this building?
Oh, I don't feel very well. I'm really sorry.
He's headstrong, just like his father is. What his father used to be. I take it from his reaction just now that he's found out that Ralph is his father.
Mr. Moyer, I think Russell's had a very difficult day. I think you've got a lot to discuss once it's been cleared up. Russell is obviously very upset. May I ask if you two quarrel a lot?
Yeah, he seems to be very agitated. Don't you two get along?
I'll have you know we rarely argue. I love that boy. It's not been easy for us. Money was very tight when I was training to be an accountant. It wasn't easy when he was growing up either. But love gets you through. I've always put that boy first. He's the most precious thing in the world.
How long have you been in the pound cake players, Mr. Moyer?
About 20 years, never missed a show. I suppose the powder cake players will disband now. Ralph was always the one who carried us.
And I imagine you played a number of key roles in your time.
Indeed I have. Thank you for taking an interest, Inspector. Cordelia, Portia and Viola have been some of my Shakespearean greats. Not to mention Pygmalion. There wasn't a dry eye in the house.
And, so tell me about old Meg.
One can't always have the lead parts, Inspector. One has to realise that everyone has to have a fair chance. And that every now and again, even the best, most talented actors are called upon to play toothless old witches with only 5 lines. I haven't finished, Inspector.
I can see you as an old witch.
Sergeant! Now, Mr. Moyer, tell me what happened before the ambulance ride. Bear in mind, we have witnesses.
Well, being Ralph's oldest friend, I escorted him outside to await the medical staff. Russell helped me. He took most of Ralph's weight. He's quite a strong young man, you know. But then, the strangest thing happened.
Tell me about it.
That building woman, she barged me out of the way.
You mean Marjorie Tubbs?
Yeah, she's been stirring things up. She came from nowhere, demanded that we stay back, and was mooning all over Ralph's body. Goodness knows what she was doing, or where she came from. She took out a bottle of paracetamol. She had the tablets in her hand, and she was forcing him to take them, lots and lots of them. The woman was possessed, berserk.
And did he swallow any?
Very probably, who knows? I had hold of Ralph. I was just trying to keep him upright. Things happen so quickly. I loved him once, you know.
The trials and tribulations of love. After when I turned out the way the green-eyed monster a certain playwright once warned.
The only monster in Fickleton Fold is Marge Tubbs. And earlier this evening, she was in the theatre threatening to kill Ralph. She runs the theatre for Tubbs Enterprises building company. She's always been sniffing around with her snide, underhand ways. Over my dead body, Ralph said, to which she replied, that can be arranged. Do you think she did it?
I'm not ruling anything out. Thank you, Mr. Murray. I think I'll question her last. I'll be grateful for now if you could ask Miss Sunshine to come in. And meanwhile, I think you ought to talk to that son of yours.
He's a fine young man. He'll understand. Thank you, Inspector.
Come in, Miss Sunshine. You appear to be quite upset. Please be patient. I have to ask you some sensitive questions.
It could have been me, you know.
Pardon?
If Ralph hadn't stepped in to take over my role, it could have been my lying there in a pool of blood. I owe him my life.
Fate. What's meant to be?
Can you think of anyone who might want to kill you?
Prudence, of course. She's a malevolent old witch. She's jealous that I'm younger than her and far more talented than she ever was. She wanted to play Alice, but Ralph thought that I'm more talented and she couldn't stand that.
Do I understand Mr. Valentine was taking a special personal interest in your acting development? Were you two involved together in some sort of relationship?
Oh, of course not. Ralph and I had a strictly professional relationship. You see, I'm going to be a famous actress. I'm a star in the making. And it might sound cruel, but I'll make it without him. He was just a stepping stone, you see, a plaything. And not that I wasn't grateful for everything he taught me, but it's now time to move on. I'm a very talented actress.
Some of us are blessed with talent. I can relate to that.
All right, Sergeant, we know you have hidden depths. Now, aside from your talent, Miss Sunshine, tell me about the props you used on stage. Whose job was it to set the objects intended in the play?
Oh, Renee takes care of all that sort of thing.
And didn't you help?
Oh no, stage management isn't my responsibility. It's an important, precise job. I'd never interfere with that. It's not as important as being an actor though. Have you read the review of my bottom in the Pimpleton folder?
Bottom? I'd like to have seen that.
Sergeant! Let's keep to the evidence of the case if you don't mind. Now tell me, Miss Sunshine, the whiskey. You drank it early in the play. Did it taste at all unusual?
Oh, an old theatrical trick, Inspector. Apple juice. Same colour as whiskey, but no alcohol, obviously. And it tasted very refreshing. Thank you. Full of vitamins.
But you didn't drink from the bottle on the second run through, did you?
No, but neither did Ralph. He said it was empty and then shouted at Renee. I think she makes too many mistakes. You'd think she'd never done stage management before.
Not a very easy job, I would imagine.
I understand, Miss Sunshine, you and Mr. Valentine shared cross words earlier this evening. Apparently you stormed off and locked yourself in the kitchen.
That it was just a little artistic disagreement. We actors are famous for our volatile temperaments. Just a little tip, nothing more. Wow, do you think that this case would be on the news? A violent murder mystery story. I could be interviewed on the radio. How does my hair, this would be my first break. How does my hair look, Inspector?
Oh, it looks fabulous.
I'd like to remind you that a man died here tonight. Your hair is of no importance to me. This isn't some cheap piece of amateur drama, you know.
I'm sorry, Inspector, then I'll tell you who did it. Who murdered Ralph. It was that businesswoman, Marjorie Tubbs. I heard her threaten how she'd arranged for him to be killed. For an eternity. I'm sure she didn't miss that one with her old ears.
Well, no, indeed she didn't. Thank you for your time, Miss Sunshine. I think I'll speak with Miss Gibbs next, if you be so kind.
Certainly. I'll go and see to my makeup. Whatever you say, this could be my big break.
I'm not having it, Inspector. I'm not having this low-life slander me without me being here to defend myself.
But I'm going to have my say first. I know what she's going to say about me, and I want you to know that I have nothing to do with it. Do you hear?
I think you want to keep your mouth shut, Teddy Wally. We better provoke her.
Another threat. I've paid my dues, Tubbs. Legal criminals like you are the menace to society, flashing your money about, swanning around in Rome's West. Ghost, while the rest of us slum it on our postal cycles.
Look, Inspector Angus, I know I'm no angel, but at least I work within the law. Unlike Teddy Wally here, she's a proven wrongdoer.
The stench that lurks beneath your overpriced perfume nauseates me.
Enough! Miss Gibbs, you don't think I'll forget your face, do you? Would you be so good, would you be so good as to be quiet for a second while Miss Tubbs explains herself? Then you can have your turn. Please.
Thank you. I have a confession to make, Inspector. As you know, I run Tubbs Enterprises, a firm that specialises in renovating old buildings. For a profit. I've been desperate to get my hands on this wonderful old theatre for some time. It was only Ralph Valentine that stood in my way. I was ashamed to admit that I tried to bribe Renee to ruin the show, knowing that the society would probably collapse as a result. They disbanded society. I figured would force Mr. Valentine to sign the station over to me. I saw pound signs flutter before my eyes. I used my knowledge about Renee's past to blackmail her, and I offered her money. Amongst other things, I suggested that she switched around some of the props from the plate to cause an accident. I had no idea she'd go and kill Mr. Valentine. I underestimated the ruthlessness of a cold-blooded killer. Once a criminal, always.
It's a lie!
I never wanted this, Inspector. Tubbs Enterprises is a reputable business. I wish to officially disassociate myself from her abhorrent action.
Mr. Andrews, so you must listen to me.
Go on, Miss Gibbs.
All that Miss Tubbs has said is true. You see, I recently got out of prison. Did you hear about the Wallis robbery? Bank robbery several years ago now.
More than you can imagine. It was me who sent you, Jen and Fred down. From what I remember, quite a lot of money was taken, money that was never recovered.
We burned it. All that money burned? What sacrilege!
It was a particularly ferocious armed robbery. The word about Pinkerton Fold was it was very unwise to mess with a Wally.
It was very... It was Fred and Jed who were armed, not me. They just talked me into being the driver. The car cranked up, ready to go. They bullied me into it. I was too scared to refuse. I didn't know they were. And that's why they let me out early and gave me a new identity. I'm not like them. Please don't spoil it for me. You must believe me, Inspector. I'm determined to go straight. Make amends for past mistakes. You must believe that someone can change their ways, Mr. Langford.
Indeed I do.
I've got an honest job now. A new life. A new name. Renee Gibbs. My work for the powder cake place is purely voluntary. To give something back to the community. You see what I mean? And then she buys me, threatening me, offering me money, saying she's going to blow my cover. I never agreed to do anything with her, sir. What happened to Ralph Valentine was awful. It had nothing to do with me.
What a touching piece of theatre. Mr. Valentine would have been proud.
But it's true.
Miss Gibbs, you set some of the props for the play. Did you set the intended murder weapon?
I can't remember. I suppose I must have done, but I had no idea. I was confused. It's my first show. I'm just helping.
Did anyone else have interfered with the props backstage?
I suppose so. It's just a play. I had no idea it would turn into a murder inquiry. But I did hear Miss Tubbs shouting at Ralph. She said she's waiting spinners for him. She's a nasty piece of work, Inspector. You take it from me.
You don't learn, do you?
Oh, that's enough. Miss Tubbs, can you tell me what happened when you left the theatre this evening?
Well, I went to the I had a meeting with Mr. Pettigrew and the landlord there to discuss the possible renovation scheme. We were in the lounge
Well, how come you ended up over here attending Mr. Valentine after the stabbing?
Well, I heard the commotion. I have to admit, I was keeping an eye out on the theatre building. Then, when I saw what Teddy had done, I realised that I had to make amends, so I ran over at once. I'm a respectable businesswoman. A death linked to me would wipe me out. I tried to help Ralph. I had some tablets and I thought they would calm him down a little. I was trying to save him.
Really? These tablets, did he take any?
One or two perhaps, but Russell had such a stronghold on him. Prudence was like a wildcat, kicked and screamed like a mule.
Not part of the bargain you made with Miss Gibbs.
Well, I wanted Renee to create a disturbance. Anything, muddy the waters, make waves, but not to commit a murder.
I've told you, I didn't kill anyone.
Look, I'm well schooled in first aid. In my job, I have to be. Ralph was in a bad way, but not dead. I was trying to save his life rather than killing him. You said yourself that it wasn't the knife that killed him, didn't you?
That he did. I heard him.
I did indeed, although I still think I need to look into the medical reports further.
If your incompetence damages Todd's enterprises, Gibbs, I swear.
How many times do I...
Oh, be quiet, will you? I still have a few more lines of detection to follow, but I feel things are beginning to make much more sense now. I feel we'll have our culprits arrested for the night out, and yes, it was 2 of the 5 you brought about Mr. Valentine tonight. Just one more question, Miss Tubbs. You say you were drinking in the Spinners this evening. May I ask whether you saw Russell de Maurier in there at all?
No, I think I'd noticed him in that outfit. He wasn't there at all.
Thank you. Now if you'd be so kind as to peacefully wait in the cloakroom. We have a couple of loose ends to tie. I feel that this case will be closed very shortly.
Yes, please contain yourselves and leave with dignity, and we'll wrap things up.
Yes, the Sergeant Northbound says, please leave with dignity.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes Act 2 of tonight's performance. By now you have all the evidence you need to solve tonight's mystery. You now have a prolonged break in which to complete all the answer sheets and to enjoy your